Hello everybody! Today's video is going to be on body positivity and weight loss, and I really wanted to talk about this topic for so many reasons. We've really been only addressing the physical side of weight loss because we've been doing a weight loss and hormone series, but my sweet husband recommended that I do this video today because we were talking about it this morning on a hike. And I really don't think that we can separate our body image from weight loss. So whenever we're talking about weight loss, we have to talk about both topics. So I have my computer down here on my lap, so if you see me looking down there, that's what I'm doing. And I'll let people pop on and we can get going. Today's Labor Day, so I'm not quite sure if there will be a ton of people popping on, but thanks to everybody that's here. Okay, so let's just dive in. Really, to just start us off, those of you that are trying to lose weight, you are probably already aware of the fact that there's more to weight loss than just weight loss itself. There are physical components, multiple limiting factors, lifestyle situations, emotional health, mental health. It all plays into whether we can lose weight sustainably and safely, or whether weight loss is hard, or whether weight loss is difficult or easy. So it really depends on a bunch of different factors, but what I want to talk about in this video is that weight loss is totally, we can't separate weight loss from thinking about our emotional and mental health. So, this whole series has been for people that have really needed to lose big. So, 20, 30, 50 pounds or something like that. But this video is for really anybody that says, I want to lose weight, I need to lose weight, and whether that's 5 or 10 pounds, or 15 pounds, something like that. This video is for pretty much anybody who is looking to shift their weight. So, as you guys probably know, with today's day and age, this is a highly controversial topic. Just talking about weight in general, or body positivity. There's people on all sides of the spectrums with varying different opinions. So, this video is my opinions based on what I have learned in practice, what I have seen with my patients, what I have experienced in my own life, what I have seen with my own friends and family. And not everybody's experience is going to be the same as mine, and nobody's, mental world or their lens is going to be totally different. Their lens is going to be colored differently depending on the experiences that you've had. So this is me. This is what I've learned in my journey. But what we believe about our bodies is usually a very highly emotional thing, because what we believe about our bodies and about our weight is usually some sort of repeating dialogue in our heads that has been shaped by our experiences as children, by different traumas, by what our parents modeled to us or our guardians modeled for us, what we saw our teachers talk about, what we saw other kids in school talk about, what we saw from society like mainstream media, movies is a big one. There's just so much societal input that we get as human beings, whether you're 30-something or whether you're 5, about what we should look like, what our bodies should do and be, and so that really will shape often our emotional world. And I feel like it ends up being just a lot of emotional baggage in our head, and a lot of people that come to me, I will usually ask people a series of questions about why they're thinking about weight loss and different things like that, and we'll get to that in one point of tonight's topic. But we really need to figure out people's why, and figure out what your lens is before we really dive into weight loss, because you might have something physical going on that we need to treat first. You might have some emotional thing that we need to heal first. It's all encompassing. So I really believe that if we don't fix our emotional, mental world, then we're not going to have a really good shot at long-term sustainable weight loss. And I say this because I think I'm mostly talking about the people that need to lose a significant amount of weight, 20 pounds plus, 50 pounds plus, people that are morbidly obese. And there is, emotions wrapped up in what our weight is, what it has been, what it's going to be, what it is currently, and our emotional world colors what we think and how we view ourselves. So if your emotional mental world is not in a healthy place, then it's going to be really, really hard to make long-term sustainable weight loss. And that's always what we're looking for, you guys. We want weight loss to be sustainable. We want it to not necessarily be hard. We want to work with your body to achieve this. So if we're trying to force things, it's not going to work. And this emotional baggage that I was mentioning before, that can really get in the way. So the one thing that I see with a lot of people that I treat is that they tend to make weight loss totally separate from any of their physical health goals. So they'll say something like, I need to lose XYZ amount of weight, let's call it 15 pounds. I need to lose 15 pounds, but also my knee hurts. I have a rash on my feet, which means I can't walk very far. I have a family history of autoimmune disease. I have a really poor diet, all these different things, but they say, but I want to lose weight, and they don't really see these things be connected. Got a bug. Sorry, you guys. They don't really see these things be connected, and that really does them a disservice long term, because I, as a naturopathic physician, view the body as everything goes together. So, if you are overweight significantly, and then, you have that foot problem, which means you can't walk for a long period of time, that's an issue, because to have long-term sustainable weight loss, walking is generally part of the program all the time. So just different little things that we need to work on. People tend to piece them out and view weight loss as separate. But what I always try to get my patients to think about instead is that we have to do all of these things together to eventually get you to that weight loss goal. Because weight loss is not something that I usually do first with clients. Weight loss is something that happens gradually. It improves, it gets better. Unless you are a super healthy patient that's mentally, emotionally, physically ready to just jump into weight loss, then we do it. But not everybody is there, and I would say most people are actually not there at all. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But I really haven't had a patient where we have gotten somewhere significant with their weight, and we have not addressed their emotional, mental world. People that need to lose some significant weight need to actually lose some significant baggage weight, emotional, mental weight in their brains usually. So I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I see this with young men entrepreneurs that are building companies. I see this with moms and middle-aged women that have been overweight for a really long time. I see this in young women who are battling their weight. I see this almost in every demographic that I work with, this idea that we have to work on your body image. We have to work on what you're telling yourself about your body. We have to work on what you're viewing, what you tell yourself about weight loss. We have to work on the dialogue that you have in your head, whether it's positive or negative. So let's get into this a little bit, you guys. The first thing I kind of want to start off with is a little bit about my story, because I tend to be passionate about this topic because I have lived this, in the sense that I have been overweight in the past and had this just breakthrough moment of, oh my gosh, I need to fix this. but I can't get there without addressing my emotional world. So when I was a teenager, in high school, I was overweight by a significant amount, 60, 70 pounds. And I think looking back, some of that was due to my awkward stage, some of it was due to inflammation weight, but I was just also plain overweight and needed to lose weight. And my mom had been trying to change some of the nutrition in our family, and that hadn't been working so great because I was really resistant to it. But there was this point where I just said to myself, I'm sick of being this way, and I want to play volleyball better. I want to run more. I want to just experience life more fully, and so I want to get rid of these pounds. And so I learned about nutrition. I went home from school daily and ran on the treadmill or ran outside, and then used the family Bowflex to lift weights. And then I eventually transitioned to going to a gym space and doing that. And I was consistent with that for months and lost a significant amount of weight. And felt really good about myself and had a lot more self-confidence. But that was junior, senior year of high school. And then when I got to college, I had multiple issues. I didn't know how to eat gluten-free in the cafeteria. When I was 12, 13, I went to a naturopathic doctor that kind of helped inspire my journey, and they figured out that I had a lot of food sensitivities. I had celiac disease, I had a thyroid issue, and so I was able to, when I was changing my diet in high school, start to eat really healthy. But when I got to the cafeteria at college, I really didn't know how to eat gluten-free safely, and I ended up going vegan around the same time, ended up overtraining a bunch, and so I lost a significant amount of weight my freshman year of college, which ended up being more than 15 pounds. So I actually lost the freshman 15, which is really not a good thing. But I got down to about 126 pounds, being 5'9", in height, my sophomore year of school, which is the second year of college for those of you not in the U.S. And I thought that I looked great. I was fitting into a size 2 clothing, which is really significant to me at the time. But what I didn't really realize until much later is that I was having crazy bouts of hypoglycemia. I wasn't fueling properly. I was not eating enough fat. I had a more restrictive type of eating pattern. Though I always ate plenty, it just wasn't sufficient for my activity level, for the degree I was earning, my mental capacities that I was churning at that time, the amount of physical activity that I did that wasn't even like actual workout exercise between walking between all the buildings for classes. And my diet was just totally not sustaining anything that I was doing at that point. And I didn't have a cycle then. I had no menstrual period for 4 to 5 years during that time. My whole college, I don't think I had a period at all. And then at some point, I realized that, this isn't good. And I started working with my naturopaths again, who helped me a lot. But it didn't really click for me until I got to medical school. And I can't remember what year of medical school it was. It must have been my second year of school, and medical school is 4 years. Must have been my second year. I ended up taking an intuitive eating class that was highly recommended to me by a colleague at the time, a fellow student who said that the class was really fantastic, and I had no idea what intuitive eating was. I was like, okay, this sounds cool, and I know that it has to do with nutrition, and I love nutrition, so I'm gonna dive into this. And so I ended up taking the class, and the professor was a young woman who had a counseling practice, and she was a mom, she was married, she seemed like she had a really cool life. And I remember her walking into class one day, and she she was talking about a cookie that she was eating from the cafeteria, and the cookie was, I think, just a regular cookie. There wasn't anything gluten-free about it, dairy-free about it, sugar-free about it. It was just, the regular, still healthy because they used healthy ingredients, but just the regular cookies that the cafeteria would make. And she was talking about it like it was the most decadent, delicious thing she'd ever eaten. And like she had respect for the cookie, and she spoke about it so positively. And then she put the cookie down when she was done and was like, oh, I'll revisit this later. And I was like, what just happened? How can somebody have a relationship with food like that? That's so not controlling. It just feels free. And I had no idea that existed. And so that was my moment where I was like, wow, I went through this whole weight loss, nutrition, exercise journey myself, and I've gotten a lot healthier, but I do not have a healthy relationship with food. And around that time in medical school, I had actually gained some weight back, which was concerning to me at the time because I'd moved to Northwest. I was out of my Southern California routine. So many things had changed for me, and then I was doing a high stress program, and I just really looked at myself and said, I can't do this anymore. I can't live my whole life with the perspective that I have now with food. Like I won't be able to go to parties. I won't be able to travel. I won't be able to eat at somebody's house again. I can't live like this. This is too disordered. And so I ended up getting help from two different types of counselors. One was a marriage family therapist. We talked a lot about my own family dynamics, relationship dynamics from childhood and growing up, what I was currently undergoing, and that was fantastic. And then I also worked with another gal who was a nutritionist, but she was also a licensed counselor, and she really focused on food and body image, which was really, really fantastic. And so I talked with both women for almost every week, both of them for a year and a half, or maybe a little bit shorter. It's been a long time. But they really opened my eyes and taught me how to eat intuitively, but also how to reestablish my relationship with food so that it's normal. And that's one reason why I'm so passionate about having a healthy, sustainable weight loss, but also having a body positive lens, but also really fixing the relationship with food. I don't think that I've ever met a person that is overweight significantly, or an obese person that doesn't have a poor relationship with food, or that doesn't have a poor relationship with their body image. And so it can be really sabotaging if you start a weight loss journey and you start to change diet and you start to incorporate healthy foods. It can really backfire on the person when they don't have any healthy constructs to use for when they start to make those changes. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this topic, because I would 100% not be where I am today and feel the food freedom that I have today if I didn't go through that process, if I wasn't overweight and then went to underweight and then had all my health problems and then actually got help and learned to eat freely. I 100% would not be where I am today. And I just really wish that what I try to impress upon my patients is that we have to work on this mental relationship that we have with food and with our bodies if we want the weight loss to stay off long term. Like, it is a really big thing. So I hope my story will encourage some of you guys to take the leap. So you now know why I'm so passionate about this topic. And if you guys take nothing away from this video, I really hope that you learn that if you want to have long-term sustainable weight loss, you have to address your inner world, because there's a reason why people are overweight, and it's not just because of their habits, it's because of what's going on internally. And that can be 15 pounds overweight, 30 pounds, 100 pounds overweight. This can be morbidly obese people. So now that I have told you all that, I'm sure that you are all wondering, okay, so Dr. Maggie told me all about how I need to fix my inner world, so like, what does that mean and what the heck do I do? I mean, I don't even know how to do this. I just found your video randomly from a friend or randomly on YouTube, and what gives? Like, what does this even look like? And I think this is a great question because often when I'm introducing my patients to this idea, they're like, okay, that's really cool and I'm down with that, but I have no idea what to do. So I'm gonna tell you. I'm looking down at my outline so I don't miss anything. The first thing that I like to do with people is do a little bit of an investigation about the thoughts and feelings that they have around body image and weight. And the reason why I do this is because I want to assess whether the person is coming from a healthy perspective for weight loss or whether they're coming from a more disordered body image space, or whether they're coming from a disordered eating space, or they're coming from an emotional trauma space. And what I mean by that is we all have, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, we all have these things that shape what we say to ourselves about our body image, how body positive we are. It's societal pressures, it's what we're modeled growing up, it's what our siblings said to us, it's what our I'm missing the word in my head. It's what our classmates say to us when we're in school growing up. It all has to do with the input that we get. It all ends up creating our mental construct about how we view food and body and weight. So I always have to assess this with people, because if we start a weight loss plan for someone that doesn't have any sort of healthy coping mechanism, or I don't know that there's a problem under the surface, then it's going to be really hard for the patient. And then what's going to happen is that they're going to come back and they're going to be all kinds of frazzled, but they're not going to really understand why. They're not going to really understand, like, okay, I did all these things, but I don't feel great, and I'm not losing weight, and now I'm more stressed about it. And so I really want to get to the root of the issue first. So, for instance, a lot of the people that I work with will say that they want to lose anywhere between 5 to 40 pounds typically. I do work with people that need to lose like 50 plus, but most of my people are within the 40 pounds and below. So that's where some of this perspective comes from. But I have worked with people that are hundreds of pounds overweight, and these are super, super applicable to those people as well. So if you're one of those people watching this video, you can totally use this in your own life. So I always ask people, why do you want to lose weight? And it's interesting, in medical school, they always tell us not to ask our patients why. And I think the reason is because why can be it can create a lot of defense mechanisms in the person. And often when we ask why, it comes with an accusatory tone. But I'm kind of different. I really like asking why with patients, because a lot of people don't ask them why, or they haven't even asked themselves why. And so I find the why question, when phrased appropriately and put into the right context, can actually be really powerful, because people realize, oh, why do I want to lose weight? Like, what is my motivation? Why am I thinking these things? How did I get here? Why am I talking to you about it as my doctor? So it ends up being a catalyst for actually a really good conversation. So I ask them, why do you want to lose 10 to 15 pounds? What's your reason? And they'll come back with, I feel inflamed, or my primary care doctor told me told me that I needed to do this and I don't know how to, or I've always been like this and it needs to come off. I gained 30 pounds after my baby was born. I gained weight with stress of building my business, different things. So the why is really helpful for me, but also for the person that I'm asking these questions. I always ask them if they've been at this weight their whole life, because that will indicate sometimes a deeper issue. And that gives me a little bit more of their story. So, if they've been overweight since they were a child, that's a different approach for me than if they were just overweight since college, or since starting their career, or since having babies, or since moving to a new place. I always ask people if they've yo-yoed a lot, because people that tend to yo-yo with weight usually have different negative coping mechanisms for when their weight is going up and down that we need to address. But it also shows that they've tried and they've failed, and that their metabolism probably has taken a little bit of a hit. So we need to heal a little bit of that. And that helps me give them a timeline of, hey, I think it's going to be XYZ amount of time until we can really get you in a healthy place to lose weight, or we're going to be able to start, tomorrow with our treatment plan of weight loss. I always ask them if they have had any history of disordered eating, and I say disordered eating because if someone has an eating disorder, this is usually where they will tell me they have a past history of that. Or if someone knows that their relationship with food isn't fantastic, this kind of helps them vocalize that. Because disordered eating means that your relationship with food isn't normal, and it's not easy to deal with. So disordered eating can be anything like restrictive, or I'm afraid of chocolate, or I can't eat vegetables, or I won't eat vegetables, really is what I should say. I'm lacking some good examples to give you guys off the top of my head, but disordered eating usually comes with some sort of restrictive pattern, or whatever pattern it is, the person usually knows that they do this type of thing. So, for instance, I once had a friend who she had a history of disordered eating, and I didn't talk to her a ton about this because it was a sensitive topic, and you have to pick your battles. She was just a friend, not a patient. But what I noticed with her is that she would just drink a ton of water all the time. And it was, from my view, a way to restrict calories because she was constantly full on water. So sometimes people have other habits that lead into disordered eating that we need to figure out. And then if they've had a type of disordered eating or eating disorder, I always need to know what kind. That's really important. I ask them if they have had a past history of dieting, because sometimes people have tried stuff and it's really worked for them, so that gives us a clue of how to proceed. Sometimes people have tried everything and it doesn't work, and so I want to see where they went wrong, or if there were any other factors that were in the way. I always ask what their relationship with food is like, and what their internal dialogue about their body is. And this sometimes leads to some tears in the women that I work with, but it can be really a fantastic conversation where we get really into the meat of the problem. And so I actually really enjoy, even though it's a sensitive topic, addressing that with these women. And I always ask people that need to lose weight, especially in the higher amount, usually people that are 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, 100 plus, 200 pound plus overweight, is there any history of trauma, sexual abuse, PTSD, anything majorly stressful that really left a mark on you? And some people don't necessarily know that their trauma can be connected to their weight issues later in life, so we need to have a discussion around that. But this can be trauma of any kind. It can be a bad breakup, it can be a divorce. It doesn't necessarily have to be something really, really horrible like actual abuse or sexual trauma, or something like a death in the family. It can be littler things like, I moved, I lost somebody, my dog died, I got in a car accident, things like that. Not to belittle any of those traumas at all. But history of trauma of any kind really can play a big role. So with these questions, I really then begin to piece together the whole story of where we need to go with their weight loss plan. So for instance, some people have a really healthy relationship with food in their body, and so they've had maybe some health issues that have caused them to gain weight, and so then we proceed working on those health issues, resolve those, and then their weight goes back to their normal weight before. Some people end up having a really poor relationship with food and body, and then they didn't necessarily ever realize it. So, what we end up doing is referring to a counselor, somebody that can help them, and I'll talk about them. I'll talk about that in a second. And some people have a really big trauma in their life that they have never ever tied to any sort of cause for their weight gain, and this needs to be treated very delicately. And I proceed with this very delicately because these things are usually multi-layer, and often when I'm talking about this with patients, sometimes they have no idea this is really coming out for them. So, the thing that I'm hoping to tell you guys is and that you're getting from this video so far is that obesity and being overweight is not just physical, it's deeply emotional, and for some, obesity could be considered a mental disorder because there are reasons why you are, deep reasons why can be, deep emotional, deep mental reasons why you, gained the weight and stay in the body that you are. And I know that's a pretty bold statement, but I see it in my patients, and I see this especially true for people that are morbidly obese and they don't make any actions to gain their health back. So often self-worth or other mental issues can just be really buried under years of different coping mechanisms, so it's not necessarily apparent immediately to these people. And some of you that are, watching, you might be like, oh, that's not me. But it honestly, it could be you. So, what happens after this conversation that I have with people? So, if I determine that someone really needs a mental tune-up or a mental checkup, and needs some emotional work around the trauma they've experienced in the past or other situations, and I think that that's going to be a barrier for weight loss, then off to therapy they go. And so what I will tend to do is I refer to a combo of different therapies, and it all depends on the patient, where I refer to. I don't per se do counseling in the state of California. I can in other states, but not this state, so I refer out. But it can be a combo of like an eating disorder, nutrition savvy therapist or nutritionist. I will sometimes refer to like a marriage family therapist. Sometimes a body positive health coach is a really great fit for people. And sometimes we need deeper things like CBT, EMDR, other talk therapy, EMDR, which is an eye movement type of therapy that really looks deep into the subconscious. That can be really fantastic for people to uncover past trauma patterns that are really like people that are just really stuck in. So I want to put out a few caveats here because we've been talking about obesity and being overweight in a really different way than probably a lot of people are used to. So, we're all incredibly awesome and capable as humans, and I really believe that we're all created with a purpose, but I also really refuse to subscribe to the idea that being overweight is healthy in any way. And I mention this because I feel this is really mixed up in today's culture. We're moving away from the idea of fat shaming, which is actually a positive thing, move away from that. But we're moving into this whole like glorification of the human body above all else, and also all body sizes are okay. And I don't believe if you're 50 or plus overweight and you're actually clinically obese that is considered healthy. And I I think inclusivity is a great thing and not shaming people for where they're at with their bodies, but I see that to be a huge problem, especially with people that are obese. There's also a movement out there called Health at Every Size, and I think the health at every size, people tend to preach that you can be healthy in almost at any body that you are currently in. And while some of that is true, we also know that being overweight and being obese has a huge amount of deleterious health effects, cardiovascular disease, obesity, problems with joints. So I don't really believe that you can be healthy at every size, but everybody's size and potential for the ranges of body habitus that you can have are different for everybody. So, if you are carrying, say, an extra 10 pounds, it's going to be very different on someone who's 5'1" than someone who's 6 foot. So it might not have the same metabolic effect. So everybody's in different spots and everybody's different, but I just want to say that I really don't think that we should glorify people that are overweight because it's just not healthy. And not everybody's going to be in an okay place for making body changes, so I want to throw that out there. I just wish we as America would just be a little bit more transparent about obesity is a really big problem, and it shouldn't be accepted as a society. We should really be like, no, we gotta get on top of this. And I haven't really seen that in any of the attitudes out there on social media, in mainstream media, anywhere. So the thing is that everybody is going to have health at different body types and sizes, and that's different for every single person. So for instance, we know that fat is an endocrine organ, fat is inflammatory, so in general having any sort of body fat in an excessive amount can lead to inflammation and chronic disease and chronic illness, and this has been well established in the medical literature, but you can be in a weight range that's very different than someone your same height and your same age and still be considered healthy, and I'm going to tell you why. Because after we've been talking about all this, weight loss, body positivity, and how do we make sure that we're in a healthy place for weight loss, a question I get a lot is, how do you determine what a healthy body weight is for you? And this is multifactorial, as I will always say, but the first couple metrics that I always look at is, how is your hunger, energy, craving, sleep, mood? How are all those? Are those in balance? Are they functioning smoothly? Are you sleeping well at night? Is your mood even? Do you get lots of cravings? Is your energy even? Are you hungry a lot? Or are you not hungry a lot? These are all metabolic signals that are going to tell you and talk to you daily and say, I'm in a good space or I'm not. So if you are constantly really hungry, if you're not sleeping well, if your energy isn't good, if you're not sleeping, if your mood isn't in check, I love repeating myself, you guys. If that's not functioning smoothly, then we know that there's a problem. We have to get on top of it. So whether that's diet isn't quite right, whether that's you're trying to be too skinny, like that was my situation. None of my hunger, energy, craving, sleep, mood was in check. So that should have been, all those symptoms should have been a big red flag that what I was doing was not the right direction for my body. But these are all metrics that you can consistently assess for yourself without a doctor telling you what to do of, hey, I'm not sleeping well, I need to do something about that, or wow, my energy really changed, I'm getting more hunger cravings, I wonder why that is. And so if you tune into those things, that can be a good indicator. So for instance, if all those things are in check, then most likely you're doing pretty good. But your weight will also have to be within the BMI scale. And I recommend that because the BMI scale is really just a really good way to determine risk. So, it's more risky to be underweight and it's more risky to be overweight, and that's different based on whether you're a man or a woman, how tall you are. So that gives you a range of what is most likely to be healthy for you. And this doesn't take into account, people that are elite athletes or people that have really high muscle mass. So that's different. So BMI isn't perfect there, but I like to use BMI as a guideline for your weight. So it has to be within that BMI scale. But honestly, body composition matters more. So we want you to be more even body type, which I'm trying to say is a mix of muscle and fat, and lean body weight. We don't want you to be all muscle. We don't want you to be zero fat. We want you to have a little bit of both, but we also don't want to have too little muscle. That's actually really not good long term. So most people that I work with, they have to actually build muscle and take away fat. Some people, we really just need to totally shift their metabolic composition. So they're not at a bad weight, but we need to get them to increase more muscle and decrease fat. So I would 100% get your body composition tested. There are lots of different ways to do this. One of the most common, and I feel like the most accurate, or at least the easiest to assess, is water displacement. So you can make an appointment with these body fat dumping trucks, body fat testing trucks, where you put your whole self into a giant tank of water and you dunk yourself and push out all of the air that you have in your lungs, and it's a really good measurement, or one way of measuring body fat. So there's air displacement pods, there's calipers. I just prefer the water. I feel like it's a little bit more reproducible, especially if we were to do the test back to back multiple times. So get your body composition checked, especially those of you that think you're in a really healthy spot for your body. You might find that you have less muscle mass than you think, or more muscle mass, or more fat mass, less muscle, less fat. So it can make a difference. So I will have people get their body composition tested to see, also where do you need to go. So that can be helpful. And you're at a healthy body weight as well when you are engaging regularly in a diet that is mostly whole foods based, that includes all of the healthy fats, healthy proteins, tons of fruits and vegetables, and that really feels sustainable for you. And this can look differently for all sorts of people. I'm a general recommender of the paleo diet as a template for people, and then customizing, bringing in foods from other places, after we're in a kind of paleo template. But really, any sort of whole foods diet is going to be really, really beneficial, especially when we're moving away from a highly processed carbohydrate diet. So I'm going through the list of how do we determine whether a body weight is healthy for you or not. So we got to have hunger, energy, cravings, mood, sleep, all of that in check. Your weight has to be within the BMI range for your height. Your body composition matters, so I'd recommend getting that tested. You're doing a diet that is sustainable. It's not restrictive. It's not too hard to do daily. And you're able to do like social things with people. That's actually really important. But also, I always run labs on people to really assess if there's any hidden inflammation or other disease states going on, because you can actually be in a larger body and still be pretty healthy. It really depends how inflammatory your fat mass is, and that can change based on a bunch of different lifestyle things. So a weight where your blood work looks good. So this is things like your hemoglobin A1C, your insulin, your glucose, your chemistries, your cholesterol, your hormones, all of that. So a lot of people will be good in all of the other arenas, but their labs don't look great. And so that's a signal that we need to move towards weight loss. So, the thing that I really want to impress upon you guys is that I think the relationship that we have with our bodies and with food highly affects our weight loss completion, whether we get to our weight loss goal, but it also highly affects the success long term. Because you can easily move around some water weight and some fat weight, but not have it be a sustainable thing and gain it back, which is really, really common and much more common, you guys. The reason why I say sustainable weight loss is because I'm meaning that you're not gaining it back. Like, you lose the weight and then you don't find it again. You got rid of the weight, you're not getting it back. You're not gaining it back. But if you're not working on your inner world, it's highly possible that you're going to gain it back, or you're just going to be chronically overweight. One really good example from popular culture would be the Biggest Loser contestants, who will lose a large amount of weight in a very short period of time. There's multiple issues with that. First of all, the contestants are exercising way too much. They're not eating enough calories to support that, and they are burning both muscle and fat, so that essentially tanks their metabolism, and then they end up gaining it back. But a lot of the contestants also don't work on their inner world for why they became obese in the first place. And so we really have to assess for, why are you where you're at, and why do you want to change? Why do you want to change? Because your why is going to help. It's going to be a really loud car. Your why is really going to fuel how you move forward and how your weight loss sticks. And I think that if we don't work on this, then we're really just doing everybody who wants to lose weight a disservice. So that's why I wanted to talk about this tonight, because I think body positivity is really fantastic, and we can't necessarily achieve body positivity if we are having this negative dialogue with, oh my gosh, I can't eat that. Oh my gosh, my hips would look so big in that. Oh my gosh, I can only have pizza once a month. Oh my gosh, that's carbs. Whatever it is, and I'm making it funny. But once you learn how to speak to yourself kindly in terms of what you eat and what you do within your body, you'll notice these behaviors in other people that seem to be really benign, like your aunt making a comment about her weight, or your mom making a comment about something that you're eating. It's so pervasive, and one thing that I learned in my journey is that once I started to do the work and learn how to eat intuitively and learn about what it's like to have food freedom, and food freedom is being able to eat without shame, guilt, anxiety, counting calories, thinking about I have to burn this off, or oh my gosh, my trainer's going to kill me that I ate this, or this is going to make me gain 10 pounds. That's what food freedom is. It doesn't have those things. And when I was learning about this, I started to realize that negative food dialogue happens a lot in our culture, but when you're not looking for it, you don't notice it. It's just considered normal. And when I went through my journey, it was like my eyes were opened for what other people were saying around the dinner table about different food. It wasn't just, oh no thank you, I don't want any. It was like, oh my gosh, I could never eat mashed potatoes. Or, oh my gosh, did you put butter in that? That's super caloric. Different things. And, I'm saying it like Valley Girl or, whatever. I'm saying it like a ditzy girl because it's funny. But, these are adults saying this with real tone at the dinner table or in different situations to other people around them. And it's amazing to me how much this is just perpetuated without really any thought. And so that is why I'm so big about people working on their inner world, because once you work on your inner world, you really do achieve food freedom, and your weight loss will be more sustainable and more long-term. So if you guys have any questions about intuitive eating or any resources, put them in the comments. I will direct you to some ideas. I'm also going to put this on my website so you guys can refer back to this. And what do I want to leave you guys with? There's so much freedom out there when it comes to body image, and nobody talks about it. So it's hard to realize that you could move about in the world without thinking about how big your butt is, or if your stomach got squinched up, or you could wear a bikini without being afraid of your body, but you can. And whether you need to lose 5 pounds or 100 pounds, you can get to your goal 100%. You can get to your goal, you can do it sustainably, and you can stay at that weight. But you need help, and you definitely need people on your team to support you in that journey. But you have to address the inner world, because if you don't, then you're going to do all of this great work to lose the weight, but because you're not fixing some of the deep behaviors that you have around food and exercise and the way you view your body, you very, very likely will have issues keeping it off. So that's why I talk about this, because we all deserve to be at a healthy weight and to be thriving, and I want everybody to have the food freedom that I have experienced. So thank you all for listening. I hope this all made sense. This will be all up into my website blog, so you'll see it. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Meg, ND. I'm a naturopath in California, Southern California, Encinitas, and I help women with so many different issues. We've been doing a series on weight loss recently, and this video we covered a lot of reasons why I think that we need to work on the internal world, our emotional, mental world, to help make sure that weight loss happens and stays forever. So holler at me if you have any questions. I'll be here for you guys, and we do these every Monday night at 5 p.m. So join and learn. Bye, everyone.